Want to talk about?
I'm a Republican, but I don't support Trump. Does that make sense?
Sure, yeah. Why are you Republican? Why do you choose Republicans over Democrats?
Okay, I was having this conversation with Dean Withers and he kicked me immediately. I said that I agree with their morals. I do not agree with Trump. I think he is a nasty human being. Um, but
Sure. What morals?
I agree with pro-life and okay, I agree with ICE to an extent.
Okay. You're pro-life.
Yes, I have my own 1 year old and I had him at 16 years old. I had him, well, I turned 17 like 2 days later, but
Okay. Why do you think abortion should be legally banned in elective circumstances?
I think that a woman who is raped should be able to get rid of her child if she does not want it. But I feel like people use abortion as a birth control a lot. I've seen it where it's like, oh, I didn't wear a condom, but I don't want this kid. I think that that shouldn't be allowed.
Okay. The solution would just to be have better sexual education and have progressive
Yes.
policies to implement social safety nets to decrease the amount of abortions. Because when you look at the data, most abortions happen because they cannot afford it. They cannot afford a child, therefore they
Hmm.
get the abortion. So if you want to decrease abortions, I think you would prefer Democrats over Republicans because progressive Democrats implement these social safety nets, and they want better sexual education in schools, which would significantly decrease the amount of abortions necessary. In a perfect world, abortions wouldn't be necessary in my perfect world, right? Because we would have
True.
the social safety nets, whatever, yada, yada, yada. But still, at the end of the day, I think that if you want to significantly reduce the amount of abortions, you do it by implementing policies, social safety nets, and better
Hmm.
sexual education. And if you're voting for Republicans just overturned Roe v. Wade. Since they overturned Roe v. Wade, abortions have increased, right? And under Republican leadership, USAID is going to lead to 14 million people dying. So if you really care about like saving as many lives as possible, you would prefer Democrats over Republicans. I don't think Republicans are really pro-life. I think they're pro-forced birth.
I do see where you're coming from, and most of that is true. My thing is the Christian version of it. I feel like obviously I didn't wait till marriage, so I don't tell other women like I have no room to tell other people what to do with their lives. But I feel like if women are going to get pregnant and instead of abortions, I think that there should be a funding in every state for expecting mothers who like need help with diapers, wipes, food, formula and things, which we have WIC and things like that, but WIC does
They're
not
not good
cover it
enough.
all.
Yeah, they're not good enough social programs. I agree with you. I think we should have that, but I think the women or mothers who don't want to keep the pregnancy or don't want to go through with the pregnancy should have legal access to abortion. You mentioned Christianity. Well, in the Bible, it talks about the bitter waters where a cheating wife is forced to get an abortion because God commanded it. Right? The cheating
Yes.
wife is forced to take a potion for lack of better words, but that has dust from the tabernacle, and then if she has cheated, her womb will miscarry and her abdomen will swell. That is
Hmm.
a forced miscarriage, abortion, that God commanded, right? So if you look at it like in terms of Christianity, there's a lot of different reasons why you also think it should be legally available for women. I think that you can be morally like pro-life and think that it's wrong to get abortions in some circumstances. Like you said it yourself. You shouldn't be able to tell people what to do with their bodies. I think that's
Hmm.
exactly what I think too. I think women should have the legal right to abortion. Harris was actually, morally pro-life but legally pro-choice, and I think that's something that you might
Hmm.
agree with Democrats.
Yes, that's my thing, and I with being like not with abortion and stuff. I always say that it's a woman's choice, but just because I don't agree with it, I'm never gonna bash somebody for it. There was an old story that my mother used to tell me. This woman had got raped and she had a child who was a different race than her and her husband, and they ended up, because of their Christianity, keeping the baby and putting it in foster care. I also think that part of me wants like every baby to survive, but I've also seen foster care from my own perspective and I think it's a terrible place. I think we should have something better than foster care, but they don't inspect parents as they should, in my opinion. You get so many abusers in the foster care, and I think that there should be a different way so people would feel safe having a child to put it in foster care.
Listen, I agree with you, but the only people who want to progress America by implementing social safety nets by fixing the foster care system and fixing the system in general is going to be progressive Democrats. So when you're telling me that you agree
That's,
with these things, me and you agree with these, but you say
hmm
You say you're Republican, I say I'm a progressive, and we see progressives attempting to do these issues. On the other hand, Republicans cut funding that go to social safety nets like SNAP benefits, like food stamps, WIC, Medicaid, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that I think that maybe did you grow up conservative? Maybe.
No. My whole family's atheists. I when I was about 13, I had like a really bad thing with my biological family, and I turned to God about it, and I felt so much better.
Right. And that's completely fine, but I think that like maybe you might be like misunderstanding what certain policies are from certain parties. Because from what you've told me, you do sound like someone who would support like progressives, someone who'd be on the left, because you want to implement social safety nets to help new moms. You want women to have the right to choice, but you at the same time you don't agree with abortion morally, and you also want to like fix the system in terms of foster care system, which
Hmm.
Democrats all wanna agree with that and do that. And the reason why we can't is because we still have establishment Dems. We need a rise in progressivism. We need people to vote for progressive Dems all over the country to actually continue to progress America and make genuine change. And then you mentioned ICE. What do you agree on ICE about?
Okay, so my thing is, I always tell people that I like ice, but to an extent. I think that they are way too harsh. I think that if a foreign family is here and they are working hard, not, sitting up on government help, they are working hard to stay in this country and make a living. I think that instead of deporting them, that I should help them get their legally stuff to stay. Now, if you're over here and you're wasting the government funding and you're killing people or robbing stores and stuff, I think that you should be deported.
Listen, you sound like someone who would be on the left. I agree. You said people should be allowed to be here if they're just families, and you said they shouldn't be deported. Is that what you said?
Hmm.
That's something
Yes.
that the left agrees with. I mean, amnesty and deport the violent criminals or bad criminals who commit any sort of like petty, any sort of fraud, or any sort of
Hmm.
like murder, like violent criminals or bad criminals, right? We agree with deporting them and then offering amnesty for those who don't, because that would significantly not only help them but help our economy. I think that I think you have a misunderstanding of policies, because when you say you agree with Republicans based on these two things, it seems like me and you agree more than what you agree with Republicans.
Okay, I may have to look into it then.
Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, actually, you covered everything.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming up here. You take care. Have a great one.